in Genesis, and it says that the earth was without form, it was void and darkness. If you go to the Greek and look up those three words, form, void, and darkness, you will be shocked. I want y'all to do that. I want y'all to get home, go to the Greek and look it up, because I can't say, because I don't have biblical proof to back up what I believe. But it's very, very important, because again, this ties into what I am trying to espouse to you today, which is that I had three things that I prided myself on being sufficient at. Those three things was operating, having money. Another thing was being in health. Another thing was having knowledge. Now, to sum all of this up, I pride myself on operating in those same three things from a biblical perspective. Because once you operate in those three things from a biblical perspective, it changes your entire life. Because you're not in the process of getting. You change from trying to strive to do, and you start to be able to operate in being. And there's another thing I would like for you guys to do is to go through the scripture and just type in, just do a Google search on just type in being, or just put be ye and then just put enter. And look at the number of states of being that's in the Bible that God tells us to be. Be ye holy. Be ye perfect. Be ye, all of these things, those are states of being. The reason why that's important is because if you're operating from a state of being, and from a state of being, and from a state of doing, that means that you don't have to do anything. Now, I'm not saying that, because we all know faith without works is dead. When I say you don't have to do anything, I mean that you don't have to go out and physically try to reinvent the wheel, because it has already been done. God has already given us everything that we need for life and godliness. So we have everything that we need for life and godliness. So why isn't it manifesting in our life? The reason that it's not manifesting in our life is because the enemy knows that. And so what he's done is he came in the beginning, and he tried to usurp what God's original plan for man was. And that's what the handout that I gave you, if you turn to that real quick, in Genesis chapter 2, in verse 9. Genesis 2, verse 9. And what I'm doing today is I really want to lay a good foundation, because depending on if Pastor wants me to come back next week, what I really want to do is I want to show you specifically exactly what I mean between the difference from worldly knowledge, biblical knowledge. I want to show you exactly what I mean from worldly health, biblical health, and exactly what I mean from worldly riches and biblical prosperity. Because there is a difference. There's a huge difference. So if we look in Genesis chapter 2, verse 9, and we started starting in verse 9, and out of the ground the Lord God made every tree grow that is pleasant to sight. Okay, that's the first tree. A tree that is pleasant to sight. And good for food. Now, a lot of people look at that as one tree. That's two trees. Why? The first tree is pleasant for sight. That means, what is sight? Visual. That is, you can eat from any one of these trees. I've eaten from all of them. What does that mean? That means that lust, if you operate from a tree that is pleasant for sight, that means you are visually stimulated, visually oriented. That means that tree, that will become your God. That will become your focus. Everything that is pleasant to your eye, you will go after it. And then, as you know, we are led astray by the lust of our own flesh. Every problem that I incurred was because of my eyes saw something that I wanted that wasn't mine. And so the first tree, the tree that is pleasant to sight. The second tree, that is good for food. Again, and that's where we get into gluttony. And we get into eating. Not only eating as far as with your mouth, but also eating as far as with your other senses as well. Because you can also indulge in a lot of things other than just food. So you can also indulge in a lot of things others instead of just food. So the third tree, the tree of life. that is the tree. If there's any doubt, which I know there's no doubt here, if there's any doubt as to which tree we should be eating from, it should be the tree of life. Because we know Jesus Christ, He is the way, He's the truth, and the life. So the tree of life is the tree that we should be eating from. Thank you, sir. Then the last tree is the tree of knowledge. And so as you see, if you go through and read, that's 4 verses, and it says the first tree is pleasant for sight, the second tree was good for food, the third tree was the tree of life, and the last tree, which was the tree of knowledge. Knowledge being perception, discernment, and all those trees. Well, let me read let me read the end of 9. The tree of life was also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So the tree of knowledge was a tree of knowledge of good and evil. So as we've heard this preached before, and so I won't go into the details on it, but basically, again, if you look into the Greek and Hebrew of what the tree of what good means, which is good, excellent, pleasant, agreeable to the senses, a good thing. It doesn't say how, it just says if it's good. And then evil. That word evil is interesting because it's the word Ra, which is the Egyptian god. So evil being disagreeable, unpleasant, anything that gives pain, misery, hurtful, injury, anything that is wrong or brings about calamity. And so, as you can see, these 4 trees were in the garden. We know what happened because we know that Adam, let me rephrase that, or Eve, I should say, took of, she did eat, she gave to Adam, and then he ate as well. So we know that they didn't choose the tree of life. They chose the tree of knowledge, which is how the enemy has gotten in and how he's getting into the church. And so what is my point? My point is that in your getting, in your striving, in our pursuit of happiness, in our pursuit of wealth, in our pursuit of understanding, in our pursuit of living, taking care of our families, it's very, very, very important that you don't fall prey to what I befell. Why? Because of once you get into it,